Okay, so you are about to go completely beneath the surface of what you'd normally consider a standard night of rest. In this explainer, we're diving into a hidden operating system that's literally running beneath your daily human experience. We're talking about an invisible set of biomechanical and biological forces that actively shape the quality of your physical and cognitive reality every single day. This isn't just about feeling a little tired in the afternoon. We're looking at how tiny, seemingly insignificant variables in your bedroom actually cascade into decades of future health outcomes.
So let's start with a massive, misunderstood paradox in our daily lives. Why is it that you can do everything exactly right? Sleep for a full 8 hours and yet somehow wake up feeling physically damaged? You get out of bed with a stiff neck, maybe a tension headache or shoulder pain. Well, we almost always blame getting older, or we blame stress. But in doing so, we're completely missing the hidden biomechanical reality of what's actually occurring while we're unconscious. We're about to uncover that the real culprit isn't time and it isn't stress. It's physics.
I want you to really visualize this number for a second. 4.5 to 5.5 kilograms. That is the average weight of the human adult head. Think about physically holding a 5-kilogram bowling ball in your hands. That is a massive, highly localized load. Now, during your waking hours, your active muscles, tendons, and ligaments are constantly working dynamically to balance this weight perfectly on top of your cervical spine. But what exactly happens to this massive, dense object when you lose consciousness? The answer lies in a really strange neurological shift.
Section 1. The hidden biomechanics of sleep. The vulnerability of the cervical spine. When you finally drop into deep sleep, your brain initiates something called muscle attonia. It actively down-regulates your motor neurons, essentially paralyzing you. Now, it's a brilliant evolutionary mechanism to keep you from acting out your dreams, right? But it comes with a massive mechanical trade-off. That 5-kilogram bowling ball, your head, and your delicate cervical spine are suddenly left entirely reliant on whatever passive support system happens to be underneath you.
And when that passive support system fails, the outcomes are silently destructive. You end up with this asymmetric load distribution across your spinal discs. You experience actual microtrauma in the zygapophyseal or facet joints of your neck. The physical pathways for your nerves, the neuroforamina, actually narrow, pinching those delicate tissues. The muscles on the complete opposite side of your neck get stretched taut for hours on end, and your airway can literally compress, which drastically worsens things like snoring or sleep apnea. That morning stiffness you just accept as a normal part of getting older? Yeah, it's often the direct result of this nightly repeated microtrauma.
Which brings us to Section 2, Anatomy of Spinal Alignment, Rethinking the Cranio-Cervical Support System.
There's this profound realization from clinical researchers and sleep therapists in our source material. The pillow is the last mile of spinal alignment. Think about how crazy that is. You can invest thousands of dollars into the world's most advanced, ergonomically perfect mattress, but if that craniocervical interface, that literal last mile right under your neck, fails, the entire system fails. You're still going to wake up in pain. Your nervous system is still going to register all that mechanical stress.
Clinical analysis actually categorizes us into distinct postural archetypes, and each one demands a drastically different mechanical intervention. For example, side sleepers have this massive anatomical void created by the shoulder. They absolutely require 10 to 14 centimeters of functional loft just to bridge that gap. Back sleepers, on the other hand, need about 7 to 10 centimeters just to support the natural curve of the neck, the cervical lordosis, without tilting the head forward. And stomach sleepers? They need almost 0 to 7 centimeters to avoid severe, damaging cervical hyperextension.
So, the absolutely crucial point here is this modern environmental conflict. Our highly unique evolutionary biology is literally at war with mass-produced, non-adjustable sleep products. A generic one-size-fits-all pillow fundamentally ignores the vast natural variability in human shoulder widths, head weights, and spinal curves. Expecting one standard block of foam or down to perfectly align every uniquely shaped human being is just scientifically flawed. We aren't just sleeping poorly, we are forcing our biology to adapt to the wrong tools. Let's look at how we fix this in Section 3, the mathematics of support, calculating your optimal mechanical interface. Believe it or not, there is an actual, literal, mathematical formula for optimal sleep comfort. Your optimal loft, or L-opt, equals the anatomical gap of your body minus how far your heavy torso sinks into the bed plus the dynamic compression of the pillow itself. It's a deeply, deeply interconnected equation. You can't just buy a sleep product based on how it feels for 5 seconds in a store. You have to account for how it dynamically behaves in a closed-loop system with your specific body weight and your specific mattress.
In practice, this closed-loop interaction changes everything. If you have a soft mattress, your heavy torso and hips sink deeply into the comfort layers, right? Well, this physically reduces the anatomical gap between your neck and the mattress, therefore you need a lower loft pillow. Conversely, on a really firm mattress, your torso stays completely flat on the surface. Your shoulder gap is maximized, demanding a much higher loft pillow to prevent your head from collapsing downward. Changing your mattress instantly, mathematically alters the exact equation of the support you need under your head.
Section 4. Thermodynamics and Sleep Architecture. The microclimate of cellular recovery. But here's the thing. Biomechanics is really only half the story. To actually initiate and maintain restorative, slow-wave deep sleep, your body must drop its core temperature by exactly 1 degree Celsius. This thermal regulation isn't just a suggestion. It's a non-negotiable law of human biology. If your brain cannot vent heat, it simply cannot plunge into the deep sleep required for neuroplasticity, memory consolidation, and cellular repair.
And this is exactly where the wrong thermodynamic materials silently destroy your sleep architecture. It triggers this vicious cycle of disruption. First, a dense material traps heat right around your head and neck. Second, your body panics and responds with vasodilation and sweating to try and cool down. Third, this physical discomfort forces you to unconsciously shift positions. And finally, this movement literally yanks you right out of deep sleep architecture, and worse, usually lands your spine in a horribly malaligned posture. You're being pulled out of cognitive recovery before you even realize it's happening.
When you dive into material engineering, the contrast is actually pretty shocking. Traditional viscoelastic memory foam is thermal conforming. That means it literally requires heat to soften, meaning it inherently traps heat, severely limits airflow, and breaks down over time. Now compare that to natural buckwheat hulls, which are highlighted in peer-reviewed studies specifically for their high air permeability. They don't off-gas, they rapidly absorb and release water vapor, and their unique interlocking structure holds your cervical curve perfectly in place without compressing. This allows the continuous airflow you absolutely need for that crucial 1 degree core temperature drop.
Let's pull this into reality. Section 5, Engineering Your Sleep System, turning biological insight into real-world application.
So the science heavily points us toward modular, adjustable fill systems. We're talking about incredibly specific interventions here. Innovations like pre-polished buckwheat hulls actually reduce movement noise by a massive 68% compared to standard materials, all while allowing users to literally engineer their own perfect optimal loft equation just by removing the fill they don't need. By utilizing air-jet-cleaned, interlocking materials or highly specific zoned contours, these engineered systems finally allow your body to achieve both static mechanical support and that vital dynamic thermal regulation.
So let's bring all these invisible forces together into one really profound synthesis. Your body is one deeply, deeply interconnected system. Proper cervical alignment isn't just about avoiding a sore neck in the morning. It mathematically and mechanically opens your airway. An open airway actively deepens your sleep stages. Deeper sleep allows your core temperature to properly drop, which lets your entire nervous system regulate and recover. This optimal state of cellular recovery, when repeated night after night, drastically reduces systemic inflammation and actively protects your long-term cognitive longevity. A single, seemingly small variable, the engineered support under your neck, cascades into decades of health outcomes.
Ultimately, health is not just a random collection of separate, isolated habits. It is the emergent result of countless interconnected biological processes occurring every single moment, especially when you are completely unconscious. From the tiny microtraumas in your facet joints to the precise mathematics of your mattress, down to that strict 1 degree thermal drop required by your brain, it is all intimately connected. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Now that you actually understand the hidden operating system running your biology every single night, are you actively engineering your sleep environment, or are you merely surviving it?